Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're looking at this. I hope everybody's doing okay. I know that there's a lot of information coming in, a lot of news. Sometimes it's shocking. And I just want to say to you that um, during this time that we're home because of the coronavirus, make sure you're talking with someone. Have a friend to talk to. Talk to your parents or an aunt or an uncle or grandparent. And, if you're really concerned, you need to make sure you let somebody know that you share, okay? We're in this together. We're going to get through this together. And Mrs. Carter is here for you, so you can reach out to me as well, okay? So the last time we talked, you were watching a video of me working out problems that involved multiplying rational expressions. And so I wanted you to take a look at some practice problems. So there are 5 problems right here. And so what I want you to do is to pause this video, maybe take these problems one at a time, and then try it out. Then unpause the video. I'll go through each problem individually, and then you might want to try them again, okay? So remember, repetition and practice is very, very important. So what we're going to do is some of you have actually probably already started working on your assignment in IXL on these problems, but hopefully watching this video will make it a little bit easier. So this one is just on multiplying, and then I'm going to do another one on dividing, and I will continue to make videos for you. And if there's anything in particular that you need to see, or you want to ask me a question about something in the video, you could literally pause the screen and look at the time signature, and then you can say, hey, Ms. Carter, I had a part starting with 2 minutes and 33 seconds into the video, that problem right there, and then I can help you, okay? All right, so here we go. So go ahead and pause it, try number 1, and then come back. All right, so here is problem number 1. So I worked it out already. So the first thing I did was I looked for my excluded value, which was 0, based on this n right here. Then I noticed that 5 and 33, nor 5 and 99 had anything in common. The same for 80 and 33 or 80 and 99. So we just left it just like it was with only the ends canceled. Then I came back and I multiplied 5 times 80 to get 400, and I used my calculator to do 99 times 33, and I got 3,267. So 400 over 3,267 is the answer. One thing I will say is sometimes when we do our canceling, we miss something. So you should always just double check and make sure that the final answer cannot be reduced again. I know that 400 and 3,267 are not going to have any factors in common. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave that as my answer. All right, so now what you should do is go to problem number 2. Go ahead and pause the video, try the problem out yourself, and then come back to the video and check and see how you did. And it's okay if you get stuck, all right? You're learning. Remember, we're learning. And remember what we said about making mistakes. Your brain is sparking when you're making a mistake, and your brain is primed and ready to learn. So if you're not making any mistakes because the problems are too easy for you, then that's another situation, and that means I need to give you some harder problems to challenge you, because you should not be denied the opportunity to be challenged and for your brain to spark, okay? All right, so go ahead, enough of me, pause the video, try this problem, and then come back to the video and watch me explain it. Okay, so here is problem number 2. First thing I did was I identified my excluded values. We always do that before we start canceling. All right, so here's my excluded value. It came from this part of the expression, r plus 2. I set it equal to 0, and so r is equal to -2. So that means that r cannot be -2. Now let's go back up here to the actual problem. So the first thing I did was I canceled the r plus 2 and r plus 2 and the 6 as well. That's the first thing I noticed. Now, maybe you didn't notice that at first. Maybe you said, 4 and 20 cancel, and you did that first. It's totally fine. We're going to end up with the same answer whether we approach it from canceling the 6 times r plus 2, or you cancel the 4 and the 20 5 times. So moving right along, I canceled out the 6 times r plus 2 here and here. I have a feeling that some people, when they look at this, they want to go ahead and distribute first. Don't do that. Don't do that. We don't want to do any multiplying or distributing. We always cancel first. And if necessary, we factor and then cancel first. But this one's already factored for us, so that's perfect. So now, when I'm canceling, I'm left with the 4r on top and the 20 on the bottom. And then, well, 4 cancels into 25 times. Remember, canceling just means you're dividing the top and the bottom by the same number. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Now that r is still there, don't forget about it. 1 times r is just r. 5 comes on down. My final answer is r over 5, and except r is not equal to -2. My excluded value, that's really part of the answer, okay? All right, time for problem number 3. Here it is. Okay, so go ahead, write that problem down. Put the video on pause and work it out. Remember, it's not a bad thing if you get stuck and you feel like you need to watch the video, but I will say this, for any problem on which you get stuck and you have to watch the video, then you should require of yourself that you go back and you do that problem until you can do it without consulting the video, okay? That's how you know that you've mastered that problem. Okay. So here is number 3 worked out. So you can compare what I got to what you got. I'm going to go ahead and explain what I did. So first, I looked at my denominators and I used those to determine my excluded values. So v plus 10 and v plus 3, I can look at those and tell that -10 and -3 are the excluded values, but here they are right here. I worked them out. Now, when I take a look at this problem, I notice, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, 10v and 30, they have something in common. I can factor a 10 out of both these terms. So then what times 10 is 10v? Well, v. And what times 10 is 30? 3. So then I came down here and I rewrote that problem. The first fraction did not change, but the second one changed a little bit because I factored the top. So it's 10 times v plus 3 over v plus 3. And I'm happy about that. Do you know why I'm happy? Yes, because I was able to cancel those out. It makes the problem much simpler. And so now all I'm left with on top is a 10 and on the bottom a v plus 10. So here is the simplification of this product right here, and here are my excluded values. Okay, it is time for problem number 4. So there's problem number 4. All right, time to put it on pause and get to work. All right, so let's take a look at problem number 4. So here's the answer right here. And so here's how I did it. So the very first thing I did was I identified my excluded values. So you can ignore this over here. This was just the information for finding a GCF, but we'll come back to that. So for the excluded value, so I can see that one of my excluded values is going to be 0 because I set 7n equal to 0 and equals 0. However, I cannot do that with this part of the expression in this form. I have to make sure that it has been factored. So I pulled out the GCF for 24 and 64, which was 8, and then the GCF for n cubed and n squared. Well, the most I can pull out of each term would be 2 n's, so 8n squared. So then what times 8n squared is 3n? Or I asked that wrong. What times 8n squared is 24n cubed? It's 3n. And what times 8n squared is going to give me a negative 64n squared, a negative 8. All right. Now I can come back over here and I can use the 3n minus 8 equals 0 to find my excluded value. And so n equals positive 8/3. And then also this 8n squared is going to give me a 0 of 0, or excluded value, I should say, of 0, because 8n squared set equal to 0, n squared equals 0, so n equals 0. But I already had that, so I didn't really have to do that. Whenever you have a monomial term with a single variable, then 0 will be one of the excluded values. Okay, so now I can come back and finish this problem. So all I've done is find the excluded values, but I still needed that factoring, so it's all good. So now I have to factor this top part. So the GCF here was simply 3, and that means 3 times 3n is 9n, and 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. So I'm going to come down here and rewrite it as a new fraction with the factored parts indicated here, broken up here. So 7n over 8n squared times 3n minus 8, and 3 times n minus 8 over 7n. And lots of stuff cancels out. So this cancels, that cancels, and then this and that cancel. And so what am I left? Well, I'm left with this 3 up top here. And I'm left with 8n squared on the bottom, so I get that fraction. And here are my excluded values. Ta-da! Okay, time for you to do practice problem number 5. So there it is. X plus 7 over 7x plus 35 times x squared minus 3x minus 40 over x minus 8. Okay, write that down. Use your tablet, use pencil and paper. I don't care. Just write it down somewhere and work it out. I'll see you in a minute with the solution. Okay. So you're ready to get the solution. So here was the final answer. X plus 7 over 7. Excluded values are negative 5 and 8. So let's go back and take a look at this problem. So I had to factor out my GCF of 7 here, and then here I had to factor. So I just did the simple X method. What numbers multiply to make negative 40 and add to make negative 3. That's what's going on right here. So to get the excluded value, I had to use the x plus 5 and the x minus 8. So that gave me excluded values of -5 and +8, just the opposite of those. So now I rewrote the original multiplication problem here, but with this denominator and this numerator in factored form. Now comes the fun part. We get to cancel out all the stuff that cancels. So x minus 8 canceled with x minus 8. And x plus 5 cancels with x plus 5. Remember, this canceling stuff only works because there's a multiplication right there. That doesn't work when you have an equal sign there, okay? And so I am left with simply x plus 7 on top and a 7 on the bottom with my excluded values. So there you go. I hope this was helpful to you. You can like it on YouTube if you want to let me know. You can put comments there. It's totally fine. I am open to any feedback that you can give me about the videos. If you have, some of you guys are like YouTube famous and you might know more about this than I do. I'm not trying to get YouTube famous. I'm just trying to make great videos for my students. But if you have any suggestions about what I'm doing for now, just please let me know. Okay? All right, bye. That's it. Until we meet again. Toodaloo.